I've had a lot of questions around the alternate approval process lately. We have 3 out in the public right now, and a lot of people are feeling that it's not the best process. So I'd just like to take a couple minutes, try and explain to you the tools that we have at our disposal as a local government and how and why we use them. A lot of people have asked me, why don't you go to referendum over these items? And that's a legitimate point. The problem with a referendum is if you're doing a region-wide referendum, it starts getting very pricey, in the tens of thousands of dollars. And so the challenge too is that when you go to referendum, the item that you're trying to go to referendum for pays for the referendum. So in the case of arts and culture, they're going to be the one that foot the bill for the referendum when we do that. So the arts and culture function isn't even that big. They probably won't even actually get money in their coffers for the first couple of years because they're going to be busy paying off the referendum. So that's a challenge with one of the cheaper items that we're seeking, such as the arts and culture. Also, with referendums, someone has asked me, well, why don't you wait till an election year and save the money, and then you can have a whole bunch of referendums at once? And while that sounds good in theory, I think you're going to run into a few challenges. One, I think we're going to encounter a bit of sticker shock if we have 3, 5, 6, 7 referendums going on at once, and all of a sudden in the next year, people's taxes are going to go up $200 in one big chunk. That could be problematic, and we may lose just based on sticker shock as opposed to the intent of the referendum. That brings me to my last point about trying to do all the referendums at once, which is if we do them all at once, people may forget the original intent or urgency that these have, such as around the weir or around diking that's occurring due to flooding. So it leaves us in a really tough spot. It's expensive, it's cumbersome, and the function itself pays for it. And then that leaves us with the AAP, or the alternate approval process, which works a little different. Instead of a 50% majority passing a function, what will happen is we put it out to the public, and unless 10% of the taxable public that's being affected by these functions signs a form, it'll pass. And unfortunately, it's been put out in the community that this is a sneaky way of doing things. And the reality is, under the Local Government Act, we only have these 2 tools for taxation. We either go to referendum or we do an AAP. And so maybe a better question to be asking ourselves is, if the AAP process is sneaky, how are we doing it, and are we doing it the best way possible? So for example, under the AAP, the Local Government Act says we have 2 obligations. We have to put in 2 articles into a local paper, and we have to give it a certain duration of time. And in a newspaper article recently, I said that, is this best practice or is this just common practice? And I feel it's common practice. It's the bare minimum that we can operate at. And I think that we can do a much better job, because I talked with people who are involved in the Area E defeat of the pool AAP, and their big contention was not so much around the taxation for the pool, but it was rather around a communication issue. Why weren't we better informed? Why weren't there more public consultations? Why weren't there pamphlets, the website? Why isn't it in English sometimes? It can be quite a bit of jargon. And those are legitimate points. And maybe we need to be looking at a better practice, a better way of doing things when it comes to these AAPs. And I would really like to be part of that process. But there we are. We have 2 options. We have a referendum and we have the AAP. But I just got to be honest here for a moment. I did not get into politics to be sneaky or underhanded or try and get things past the people. What we're trying to do is hear from the community, the arts community in this case, or people who are involved with flooding or the weir or water issues. And we're trying to take the best information that we have and do the best we can with it. And maybe in a new fashion, we can share that with the community about what we've heard and what we understand and how we can move forward as a community. So can we do better? I think so. And if you have other thoughts on the AAP process or taxation or referendums, please feel free to email me or leave them in the comments below. And hopefully we can have a better discussion. And I hope that helps you understand the options that we have as a local government.